Hi, I'm Heather Hansen, Clear Speech Specialist at Hansen Communication Lab, where I help top professionals speak clearly and confidently in global English. I'm here today to share with you my top 10 tips for speaking clearly and confidently in English. Now, we're going to breeze right through these, but I do want to let you know that if you want to go deeper with these, we cover all 10 of these tips in the Pronunciation Mastery Program, which is now open for registration. So hurry over to pronunciationmastery.com to register. But let me take you through these 10 top tips. Number 1, harness the science of speech. What exactly does this mean? You know that I love to play with the idea of the lab, Hansen Communication Lab, English Pronunciation Lab, and the reason why is because I look at speech as a science. When you are using your body correctly, when you are using your articulators correctly, when you are breathing correctly, you are taking advantage of the capabilities you've been given. You are able to speak with greater clarity. This is incredibly important. You must know how to breathe properly and let your diaphragm support your breath and project. You need to be able to speak at a volume that people can hear, because sometimes the problem isn't that they can't understand. Sometimes they just can't hear you. So using your physical body and understanding the science of how we create voice and how we create speech is the very first step in speaking clearly and confidently in English. Number 2. Use your voice correctly. Many people don't realize that there are both voiced and unvoiced sounds in English, and when you understand which are which, it actually is going to help you with a lot of different areas of your pronunciation. For example, we have the voiced sound D, D, but we have the unvoiced sound T, T. A lot of people will say that T is T and D is duh, but that isn't actually correct. A T has no voice at all. T, T. This is why sometimes people will have the problem that they say number 2 instead of number 2. Do you hear that little crisp T? That's what we're looking for in the T. And there are many pairs of sounds in English that are both voiced and unvoiced, and we need to know how to pronounce them correctly to get that extra bit of clarity in our speech. Number 3, you need to clarify all of your consonant sounds. So once you understand which are voiced and which are unvoiced, we need to put it into practice. And even more than getting the voice correctly, we also need to separate some other confusing sounds. Sounds like R and L or V and W. Depending on where you're from and what your native language is, you're going to have some different challenges. So you need to look at every single sound of English to make sure that you are articulating them correctly, that you have the tongue placement correct, the jaw placement, that your mouth is open or closed at just the right amount, that your tongue is lifted and in the right position. These are the things that you must learn to speak with greater confidence and to ensure that you can be understood by people everywhere, every time. And that's exactly what I teach you in the Pronunciation Mastery Program. After consonants, the 4th tip is to vary your vowel length. So looking now to the vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, U, and all the combinations of sounds that those letters create. There are some that are going to be short, some that are going to be long. And you know what? This is actually quite deep. It's not something that's taught in a lot of English language courses. You've probably never heard of it before, because you need to know the difference between the voiced and unvoiced consonants so that you can then determine how long you hold the sound of your vowel. So just to give you a quick example, if we look at the words cap and cab, C-A-P and C-A-B. P is an unvoiced sound, P. B is voiced, B. When we put the letters together, C-A-P, with an unvoiced ending, we shorten the vowel sound before it, cap. And when we have the voiced ending of B, C-A-B, we lengthen it, cab, cab. So really the difference isn't so much the P and the B, because at the ends of words we don't hear them very much. The real difference is how long we hold the vowel sound in each of these words. Cap, cab, cap, cab. Put on my cap, I need to take a cab. Very, very small, but very significant difference. And this is something that really needs to be mastered so that you can communicate with clarity and confidence. Number 5, my top tip, is to master your mindset. So often, the confidence or lack of it is all in our head. You walk into a room and you think, the first thing you're thinking is, oh, they're going to judge me. They won't be able to understand. How am I going to do this? I hope I know enough. Why did they ask me to do this? Why do I have to speak? I don't want to speak. Get me out of here. If this is what your mind is going through, there's no way you can speak with confidence, right? So we need to take a look at really mastering how are you going to speak to yourself? How are you going to manage situations that are stressful for you? And have the confidence to know that you can speak clearly and you can get your message across. That's what's most important. So mastering your mindset. Tip number 5. That's probably the most important tip I can give you out of everything that I teach. But moving on to tip number 6. This is when we start to move into the art of speech and away from the science of speech a little bit, because now we're going to start looking at word stress. And word stress is very interesting when we look at it globally, because if it's American English or British English, there could be some differences. For example, very commonly known one, in America we say laboratory. In the UK they would say laboratory, and probably have slightly different vowel sounds there as well. So laboratory, laboratory. You need to know and understand which word stress is used where, who is going to understand you depending on how you pronounce your words, and then you need to be able to make that split-second decision of how you choose to pronounce. And using word stress correctly, placing the stress on the right syllable is going to be the most important part of speech when you're interacting with native English speakers. So someone from America or the UK may not understand you if you talk about your latest purchase instead of purchase, or you say that you're a photographer instead of photographer. Even if they do understand you, it's an immediate note in their mind that, where's this person from? Why is he speaking like that? Why isn't his English better? And that you can be judged because of it. So that's what we want to try to do throughout the pronunciation mastery program, is get you to a level where that accent doesn't throw people off, that they don't have that sudden note to self of, this person is different than me. And word stress is one way to help you get to that point of clarity and confidence. So where are we? Number 7. We're then going to look at chunking your messages. Why is chunking important, and what is it exactly? Well, when we're speaking English, we don't just rattle out our words. We stop, we pause, we have certain words and phrases that group together. Pause, and then we continue speaking. If you aren't chunking correctly, if you aren't grouping your words correctly, your timing is off. And that's really hard for an audience to understand. If you're separating phrasal verbs or separating idioms in the middle, breaking in the middle of an idiom, that's going to be quite confusing for people that are listening. So we need to learn, when is it appropriate to break our pauses? When is it appropriate to break our messages into these smaller chunks so that people can follow us and better understand? Number 8, use your voice to your advantage by having better tone. We all have sat through those horrible meetings where, first of all, it's death by PowerPoint, right? Where it's bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. And the person is just reading their slides and they're using the monotone corporate voice of no. Point number 1, blah, blah, blah. Point number 2, blah, blah, blah. And it puts your audience to sleep. Imagine if I spoke like that. You would never watch my videos, would you? So we need to really use our voice to our advantage. Do you know, where's your highest point? Where's your lowest point? How can you use that to vary the way that you speak, to make yourself interesting to listen to? Because if you yourself are interesting to listen to, people are then more interested to listen. That makes sense, doesn't it? So working on your tone, working on your voice, getting familiar with your vocal range, and not being afraid to use it is going to make you so much more confident in your speech. Number 9, embracing the rhythm of English and using rhetorical devices. Language to me is like music. And it's kind of funny because I'm not that musical. I played the violin in the 4th grade, and I think I played flute in 5th and 6th grade, and that was about it. I'm not an incredibly musical person, yet when I listen to language, that's where I hear music. I hear the ups and the downs. I hear the beats. I feel the pauses and the pace. And that rhythm is unique in every language. And in it's oftentimes unique to every individual as well. So the way that I speak in my personal style could be very different from yours, or very different from other speakers that you hear. So how can you develop a personal style that makes you feel really confident, that makes you feel like you can captivate an audience? In doing that, you need to really understand the basic rhythm of the language. And that has to do with everything we've talked about so far, the sounds, the word stress, the tone that you're using, and where you go up and down, where you pause with the chunks. So learning more about the rhythm and listening to the English language as a song is how you can really awaken your senses and begin to apply it in your own speech. That is taking the science of speech truly into the art form that it can become. And when you integrate rhetorical devices, when you use alliteration, or when you use parallelism, when you listen to great speakers like Barack Obama or Steve Jobs or Oprah Winfrey, or take your pick, there's so many amazing speeches in the world that you can watch on YouTube or you can read the transcripts. And when you look at the devices that they're using, you can integrate them into your speech as well to further captivate your audience. And that's why my top tip, number 10, is all about learning from the masters. Take some time on YouTube. Look up some of those amazing speakers that you idolize. Find people that you look up to, that you want to sound like and be like when you speak, because that's how you can learn. Try to apply what they do to your own speech and your own style and make it a part of your own flavor. So those are the top 10 tips that I have for you today. I'd love to go even further in depth with you about all of these. And if that's interesting to you, then come join me in the Pronunciation Mastery Program, because registration is now open. So reserve your spot right away. Go to pronunciationmastery.com and come and join me on the other side. I'll see you there. Happy speaking.